We'll start off with the good news about the Nigerian currency, the naira, slowly gaining strength at 1,455 naira to $1 just as the country's foreign reserves have hit $43 billion. Now, the positive rally of the local currency against the dollar continued as forex speculation declined at an all-time low, and the gap between the official and parallel market rates significantly drops. Now, analysts attribute the rebound of the local currency to a number of factors, including stronger demand for the naira, reduced speculative trading, and rising foreign reserves. Now, others believe the forex reforms by the Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN, are beginning to yield results, not only in reduction of forex speculation, but also narrowing the gaps between the official and parallel markets. So is the economy witnessing a rebound? Joining us now in the studio to take a look at the recovery rate of the naira and the Nigerian economy is the special advisor on the economy to the president, Dr. Tokpe Fasua. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sumna. It's good to be here.
Yeah, man. So talk to us about how the naira begins its strength, and then, I mean, if you look at closing publication by Reuters for the week, it was also saying that the naira is going to actually rebound further in the coming week, and while the Ghanaian cedi will be going down and other currencies within Africa. Talk to us about some of the magic that's ongoing.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, we call it the gains of reform. And, you know, when you do reforms and when you're not half-hearted about it, we know how very crucial and very strong the reforms are. Some will choose to lampoon the president for taking the position he has taken. But I think he was quite, if you like, you know, clairvoyant in terms of what will happen in the future and where we need to be. And perhaps, of course, because he has also studied the economy of Nigeria over time, governed a state, you know, perhaps the most important commercial and financial state in this country. So he made the right judgment call. It was tough when it was done anyway, especially because the Naira reforms also came with petroleum subsidy reforms, which, to call it a double whammy, you know. But then again, like I always tell people, and every time I come on the media, you know, like the worst is over, you know. I mean, people would like to rave and rant, and I understand, especially for from a political economy perspective for opposition parties and so on, because they can't just stand it like, is this man going to get it right? Is Nigeria going to actually move ahead? Are people going to begin to see the you know, advantages of the reforms and actually begin to finally trickle down and touch people? And I think that this has been going on. So you mentioned the reserves, you know, racking up to $43 billion. I think that Mr. Cardoso's midterm goal is to take it to $50 billion. And when you begin to hit those kind of numbers, if we could get to 45 billion, it's saying something to international markets, to say, including those people who would have speculated on the currency. I mean, remember that this same currency fell to 1,900. And at that point in time, there were people who actually bought Naira to keep, hoping to be able to offload. There are people who believe that Naira was going to 3,000 Naira, 5,000, all sorts of things that we had, you know. But when you look at the other balancing act that's going on and the other results, for example, on the trade aspect, this year we've done 12 trillion Naira in terms of trade surpluses. Last year, we closed at around 16 trillion, though this year we probably will be able to close at 20-25 trillion Naira. Perhaps beyond the balance of trade that we had $6 billion last year, who knows, maybe we could be able to do $10 billion this year. Come on. So the world will notice that, look, there's something really going on in this country. And the numbers are trending down. There's another report, which you probably may have seen, by RenCap, which tried to say, oh, the Naira is now overvalued, suggesting that the value should be reduced. But then again, if you look at that report, one of the things it's saying is that from their own calculations and, you know, calibrations of the CPI, the inflation numbers, that the inflation should actually be lower than the 20% that we are reporting. In fact, they said that inflation right now is 12% in Nigeria, and that by next year it will go to 6%.
But so the MBS figures actually show different.
Exactly. You know, the MBS numbers, like I've always said, whether on the CPI or even the rebased GDP, were very conservative, and perhaps if I had been on your show, you probably would have heard me say that, look, even the GDP, I think, is much larger than that. You know, from a political economy perspective, I mean, how can our GDP be smaller than Algeria? Algeria has just two main cities. Algiers with 3 million people, Oran with 1 million people. GDP is also a function of the numbers of people that live in a country that transact in a year. You could look at it from an income perspective. People get paid every month. It's all part of it.
Currency
well, yeah, they do have a stronger currency. Well, you know, fair enough, you know, given. But to a large extent, with what's going on in places like Lagos, 20-something million people, Kano, the interaction, the business, the international business that's going on all over this country, Abuja, 7 million people, you know, and so on. You'd probably say, you know what, fine, we'll soon catch up with Algeria. So I think that the MBS numbers are very conservative. Sometimes it's good to be conservative and not to overhype yourself, and so gives you room to grow. I think, again, you can see the GDP numbers are 4.23%, you know, and our target is 8%, 10%, 12%.
Well, how realistic is that? People saying that was over-ambitious, actually.
Why would we say that? China grew its economy.
Have we ever done that in Nigeria? I mean,
well, yes, it had been done before.
Not close to 8%.
No, it had been done before in the 80s or thereabout. And even in the 70s, when we had the oil boom, the economy grew that quickly. And of course, listen, if we know who we are and are supposed to be, and our position in Africa, and of course the urgency of the moment, you know, we shouldn't be talking of 4%, 3%, and so on, because look, we have a robust population growth rate of 2.3%. Some say 2.6%, no matter, you know, but look, that means that we need to grow at a much faster
clip.
I mean, and again, if you look at the fact that, you know, we have so much space for growth in different sectors. Talk about the oil and gas sector. Talk about manufacturing. Manufacturing is also growing quite considerably now. There was a 173% growth quarter on quarter from quarter 1 to quarter 2 this year. There was a 67% growth year on year in manufacturing export. You know, the export sector is there, the commodity sector is there, the solid mineral sector is there, the blue economy, come on. So all we have to do is to say, you know what, if we have the manning levels in those places, then you ask yourself, why not? Even our financial sector could still grow considerably. Of course, we're seeing recapitalization going on. That is addition. Those monies that are coming in are going straight into the GDP size and so on. You know, and then again, some of them are playing internationally, which also adds up to the income that's generated in Nigeria in a given year. So, look, the point is this: I see, as a visionary from my own little perch, I see so much capacity for growth in this country. I keep saying that Nigerians should be optimistic. The tourism sector is there. Another dirty December is coming. It should be an all year round thing. You know, the summer in this country is sweeter than summer in any other place. We don't have to start traveling to summer. They should be coming here for summer. And the few people that have come, we have seen the kind of reports they've given. So, you know, the sky is the beginning for Nigeria.
Dr. Tokpe Fasua, have you been reading your Facebook posts? Well, and what people are telling you, for example, from all the posts that you've been posting, a lot of people keep asking you, where did you meet the Naira and where is it today? Okay. Where did you meet the price of petrol and where is it today? Fair enough. Where did you meet the manufacturing sector and where is it today? Including the power sector.
People, you know, some people will tell you that it is their last card. They used to buy the data to come to Facebook to come and send a savage comment.
I mean, because that's direct feedback to you, actually.
It's the new world we live in now, where people will leave food and buy data. You know, it's crazy, but
information is power.
So, but the point is that, look, for those who, if the economy is moving, you better be moving. There's an adage that says that you don't watch a masquerade standing in one position. Okay, you don't. So if the economy is moving, of course, the Naira went to where it is now, which is an incentive, for example, to exporters. You know, so according to the Marshall-Lerner condition in economics, it says that when you depreciate your currency or devalue your currency, you will only gain if your export is price elastic. So the export of commodities in Nigeria, including manufacturers, are price elastic. What is not price elastic is the export of crude oil, because the prices are set by OPEC and all of that. Standards. You know, you have all these guys that are doing all this stuff. But, you know, so keep moving. You know, I made an example of a certain young man that I deal with. He's a graphic artist. I've never seen him before. He lives in Jos till today. But I can tell you how much, if I tell you how much money that I've sent to him in the last 2-3 months for doing work for me, I didn't know that he hadn't even gone for NYSC. He was just graduating. Wow. A young boy, and he's building a house. Wow. He's building a house. So for those who are not positioning themselves and moving for with the masquerade, they can complain. All but right. See, so we made the currency at 700-800 naira unofficial. Now today it's on 1,450. Unofficial 1,470. See how tight that is, and many times the unofficial rate is even stronger than the official. Meaning you can buy money cheaper from the black market in this country for the first time since I got into the banking sector 34 years ago. It's the first time that I've seen that happening. You know what I'm saying? So that is that. But look, it has repositioned a number of things. And let me tell you one thing that's very, very important. When you talk about India, which is the fastest growing economy in the world today, when Narendra Modi came in about 7-8 years ago, thereabout, you know, he actually attacked some behavioral issues. That's what they call the Swash Bharat, where he moved and said, you know what, every India, clean up after yourself, convincing women to sell their gold because they like gold a lot in India, and build bathrooms rather than go inside the bush where they get raped and all of that. And in fact, Bill Gates had to go there to go and study what they did, and he called it the biggest behavioral change experiment in the world. The 1,500, you know, where this rate went to, before it started to gain back to 1,450, hopefully closing this year, maybe 1,300 or 1,200.
That's
if
your projection.
We intend to, you know, I see that it could get to that point. You know, I probably will wager, it's just a wild guess anyway, that we may be looking at 1,300. We're not in a hurry to strengthen that currency because it created a behavioral problem. Import in Nigeria is down by 30%. Import is down by 30%. Last year, Apapa Port recorded the largest number, 8,600 throughput is what they call it, in terms of export in this country, setting a record all-time high in Nigeria. You know, so why would we want to? You see, so when you make such kind of gains, you consolidate on those gains, including this petroleum. What we have done is to save this country. What the president has done is to save this country of $10 billion that we used to spend. I mean, easily those days you will hear that 4 trillion was sent to subsidy people. Faceless people.
Well, a whole lot of people are saying that some of the gains you are recording, Doctor, if I may interrupt there, is because of the Dangote refinery. I mean, he's earning a whole lot of dollars for the country, and that most of the gains that we're having are not necessarily so much of government interventions, but more of the resilience of the Nigerian people having been pushed to the wall by the Tinubu administration.
It has to meet both ways. Let the best of Nigerians come out. If you see a leader that can bring out the best of Nigerians in terms of resilience, in terms of repositioning, and also remember that the global economy is changing. We're now in the age of AI. You know what I'm saying? In the age of AI, where there's so much possibilities, the things that we never knew was possible. Should we remain in the time when we were living ghetto fabulous, not knowing what was going to hit us in the middle of the face? You know what I'm saying? So you need a leader that can actually push. So yes, the resilience of Nigeria must be commended. The repositioning of Nigerians must be commended. We haven't even had, we're going to see a lot more of that coming up, all right? So, but also the policies are the things that push you in that direction. Otherwise, by now, we still be complaining about how about $12 billion have to go to some people who are faceless. So, of course, Dangote is, that. In fact, let me say the relevance of the Dangote refinery, which I've not been inside before, but I've passed there before. About 6 years ago, I was in VI on a weekend. I just thought, I wasn't in government then. And I just thought, look, let me go and look at this thing. And I passed the front of that place. It's 7 times the size of Victoria Island. It's massive. It's not something that, you know, it's a legacy for this country, but not only for this country. Because of Dangote, refineries have shut down in Saudi Arabia. Refineries have shut down in Europe. The world is taking note that there's a certain refinery that's producing some of the best quality of refined products. Now we're exporting through that Dangote, exporting to US, jet airfuel to Europe, to Saudi, to UAE, you know, and so on, and importing, in fact, for the first time since 1973, when we started selling crude oil to the US, we're importing crude oil from US, a reversal of fortune. We used to be exporting everything we had to the US and a few others. Now we're importing. Nigeria is, the world is taking note. And I think that the best thing to do now is consolidate on this and remain positive, because this country is heading somewhere. And I think I'm thankful that I'm in this government. I'm thankful that we have a leader like President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is astute and visionary and indeed, you call it stubborn, to be able to say, let's go down this route.
All right, and a whole lot of Nigerians keep wondering, actually. Their pockets seem empty in the midst of all of this
Again,
growth.
it's about reposition.
And people are saying that it's more paper growth than, a reflective growth.
I'm telling you,
among Nigerians.
I'm telling you, a prospective copper, not even a copper, is earning millions in a few months and building a house.
Yeah, but how many of those people are within the economy?
Many of the time they won't tell you. I'm telling you it's about reposition. If people are static and not thinking, and maybe you let the negativity hold them down, maybe for political reason, because you're listening to one opposition party member who says that all of this is rubbish, don't believe it, and all of that. You stay where you are complaining and all that. For people who are building careers as activists and negative people who were never seen.
Well, you were once one of them, and your principal too. Tinubu was one of them.
I was a presidential candidate. I took my, what it means for that. I took my own complaint to that level, put up a party, brought people together, and ran for president. It's not a mean feat. Anyway, so I'm not just one of those people who sit down there. And because even if you look at my writings over the years, and I was a columnist with Daily Trust from 2006 to 2023, writing every week, 52 times a year for 16, 17 years. Those are not mean feats. So it's not just about just sitting down. I'm saying that, look, okay, so who knows which president is going to be able to turn things around. But if we have a president that's bold, President Buhari was a fantastic gentleman, but perhaps he wasn't as bold, he wasn't as hands-on as President Tinubu. Same political
on economic
party,
matters.
Same political party, but many times he gave people things to do, and then he said, look, I expect you to do the right thing. Sometimes you don't do the right thing. President Tinubu is not like that. He gives you a work, he monitors you, and of course he has an overriding purview in terms of what will be the final outcomes.
Now, Dr. Fasua, talk to us about some of the structures that we saw the president putting in place. I mean, there were enlarged economic councils. There was one made up of business leaders, technocrats, and all of that. In all of this, do you think that these structures have contributed in President Tinubu taking the right decision? I saw him the other day meeting with Akimbele Osage and then Ogunlesi and all of that. Some of the biggest entrepreneurs that the black race has produced, globally. They're beginning to actually have some interest in the Nigerian economy. Do you think that the president is getting hands-on advisory, including from yourself?
Well, I'm just a very small person down the rank and file, So, but I believe that those committees that he set up, the PEC, you mean now, which comprises the top businessmen in this country. I believe they send their report. I believe they have their meetings. They don't have to advertise to the world. The coming of Akimbele Osage and Bayo Ogunlesi to this country is because it's part of the idea of the world is taking notice of what's going on. What did they say they want to do? They say they also want to put up a refinery, because everybody saying Dangote refinery seems to be making waves, so why not if not? Bua is coming up. Exactly. And luckily for all of us, I think also Donald Trump has thrown some spanner in the works of the climate people. Yeah. Say that, I saw the statement he made in the last UNGA. He said that, look, if you're a country and you go down this green route to destroy your economy, you can see that's a major shift.
And that favors the third world countries
in the global Nigeria. South, especially Nigeria, meaning that maybe crude oil has a future, meaning that these refineries have a future, because you'd have been afraid that but so we're still going to keep an eye on the green economy, on the climate economy and what have you, but it looks like there's prospect now for Ogunlesi to come here, Akimbele Osage to come and say, we also want to have some action in the refinery business. So let's then bring it on. In fact, just yesterday, I think I saw also Senegal is building a refinery. Ghana is trying to build one. So remember, when of course people like others to take the first mover, initiative. Yeah. And when they see that you are successful, everybody begins to pile on. Yeah. Let it be what it is. But I like the fact that that organization is very effective and is making wave around the world, and it's to the betterment for Nigeria.
Now, let's talk about some of the controversial statements you've made of recent, including one that Nigerians today are much more better,
Absolutely,
living better than
a lot better than in the 60s. Are you kidding me?
People say that the Naira was stronger in the 60s, in the 80s. We're competing with the biggest
I don't know when
countries.
you were born. You know, you look like a 70s man.
Yeah, I'm a 70s
yeah, so we're in the same basket. I don't know what they call us. They call us what? We're not millennials. We're whatever it is they call us. You know, but the point is that look, in the 60s, at the time we got independence, that was still when people, for people who had some brain and they wanted to study abroad, the whole community will put money together to send them abroad. Then when they come back, Atiloku dancers will go and welcome. Imagine. And look at us today. We take education for granted. Okay, we may not be able to go abroad as much as we did, but look at the millions of graduates that there are in Nigeria. You know, so look at how the economy has transformed. Look at the infrastructure all over the place. You know, look at telecommunication. Look at technology where it has taken us. We're able to speak in 1960. You can't have somewhere like Arise TV. It took maybe 1958 for Awolowo to put the Western Nigerian TV somewhere in Ibadan. Yeah, and it was grainy, whatever. So we've grown with the rest of the world. And we haven't done too badly. That's the point. How can anybody
we could have done much better. Let me tell you, look at the economies we grew up with.
There's something called cognitive bias, you know, in psychology, you know, and heuristics. And the fact that, you know, people... One of the most popular one is people thinking that yesterday is always better than today. Check yourself. Even the advancements of technology today, you want to exist at a point where there was no antibiotics, where people, the maternal death rates in 1960 in Nigeria compared to today, we have also helped ourselves. So nobody is incomparable. I think maybe the statement must have been born out of the fact that we were celebrating 65 years of independence. And look, I say, look, there's cause for cheer. There's cause for to be encouraged, you know, at
not
this point in time.
Not just gloom and doom.
Not just doom and gloom. Of course, there are people who are only interested in selling doom and gloom until they find themselves where they find themselves. Look, the fact is that this country is making good progress. And we can do a whole lot more. I said we're interested in pushing 10%, 12%. I've always written about that. Double-digit growth is what this country needs. And it can be done. If manufacturing will continue to grow at this clip that is growing, if we continue to, part of the thing about the 1,500 Naira thing is because technically and strategically, you know, close the economy so that the country we can produce for ourselves. And it is one of the things that President Tinubu always said, we should be able to produce what we need. Nigeria was mocked for many years as that country that sells what it doesn't have and buys what it has. Call it crude oil. Sell what you don't have. Buy what you have. You know, but now we're beginning to be the country that sells what it has in bulk, you know, as in, and we import those things that are necessary, you know, on the other side. And I think that we're moving somewhere. Look at what has happened even the commodity, as we talk about the temporary ban that was placed on shea butter and shea nuts and so on. Because there are companies that need it here. A day after it was done, the Bua industry actually made an advert to say, look, thank you, Mr. President, this is what they've always wanted.
Yeah, there was a complaint in Niger.
I was in Shalawa Industrial Estate in Kano sometime last year. We one company, you know, one of those, Ilera Agro, I think. And this company they were really very much Armstrong with the soybean because they weren't getting, because we just export those things raw and send it abroad. You know, soybean, we're one of the biggest in the world after Brazil. Brazil is the biggest in the world. And Brazil is a country to copy from. And of course, Mr. President just returned from Brazil. So why would we export the things that we need for our own industry to transform our own economy? And then go and import the things that we don't need. So we're heading somewhere with this.
All right. I don't think you've been listening to the opposition of recent, because the opposition to President Tinubu's government keeps saying that, look, you met the rise, for example, at 27 to 38,000 Naira per bag. And right now we have 50 to 72 Naira per bag. Yeah, I mean, you met the inflation rate then, I mean, it was like at about 22.41%. Yes, it's at now 20.12,
but according to RedCap, should be at 12%. It's already at 12%, so take note.
Then, all right, then you talk about the issues of taxation that the president has been overtaxing Nigerians.
Not at all.
From next year, it's going to be much more difficult.
Why?
And that may, in one way or the other, stifle some growth of MSMEs, for example.
You spoke about where you met the price of rice, right? Also talk about where we met the minimum wage, at 33,000. Now at 70,000. A lot of states are doing. Lagos is doing 100,000. Imo is doing 120,000. Oyo is doing 80,000, and so on. So in the same vein, we have taken note of that in order to increase salaries. But it's not just to increase salaries of government workers or people who are unionized. I keep on saying it. Unionized people in this country, they're not more than 8% of the working population.
Yeah, that's true.
The remaining of them are in informal employment and so on. Maybe SMEs, employing a couple of people and so on. So in spite of what it says, everybody is under obligation to do more, to pay their people more. Why? Because the inflation that went up to 34% is because people added money to whatever it is they're selling, including their services. I'm sure that if Arise TV, of course, you have an advert department, give me the rate that you were charging 2 years ago and the rate now. It's considerably different. Therefore, entrepreneurs must pay their people more, even if what you're employing is one person. In fact, I shared something on my Facebook today, and I'm very much on social media. For
I like the interaction. Actually,
we need to interact and to get information as well.
With your followers.
And I go on the street. I mean, today is a Saturday. I'm dressed.
You're always going to restaurants, comparing prices and all of that. It needs to
be done. I want to be a special advisor on economy with a difference, because let's do it well and put the ball on the ground and interact with our people. In Oyo State, some people, one guy, I don't know what kind of paramilitary they belong to, and they complained to the governor and they were being paid 18,800. And immediately the governor said, you know what, we're going to take 69 of you or 65 of you and move you to a different whatever, and we'll pay you. Imagine their salary moved from 18,000 to 80,000. And I made a comment on that face. I said, please, when we see this kind of thing, please, people should speak up, because people can't survive on 18,000. There was a filling station very close to where we are. One guy drove there the other time and found out that their staff were complaining, only to find out that they paid them 10,000 naira.
Yeah, I read it on social media the other time.
10,000 naira in this age and time is the fuel. What's fuel? So see, listen, I'm in the vanguard of saying, you know what? We let us pity ourselves in this country. We also see a scenario where people want to practice crass capitalism without any pity. Let people, wherever we can see them, for those who are really downtrodden, for anyone that can lend their voice, someone like you, lend your voice, just as you do in your show every day. So lend your voice so that people can be lifted up.
All right,
but
very quickly before I let you go.
We cannot remain where we were before. The curve has shifted outwards, whether on income. So if you do compare that, it's a price of rice, this and that. Everybody's always talking of price of rice anyway. Even they say,
that's a country staple. A whole lot of people.
Is it everybody that buys a bag of rice?
Well, just quickly, talk about Fasua.
So the point is that everybody needs to, please, my last word is, we need to reposition. Everybody needs to reposition. Please take advantage. Stop being negative. Where you see, they say we're building too many infrastructure. Where you see the infrastructure side, try and offer your services, whether as a laborer or a supplier of sand or stone or whatever it is you can do.
Well, contractors have been complaining that you're not paying them so much. I mean, the government is broke and all of that.
I don't think the government is certainly not broke. What I've heard though is that contractors are doing a lot at the state level, because the states are getting ×3 their money, and maybe at that state level the bureaucracy is a bit smaller for them to deal with, and there's a lot of infrastructure going on there. People are saying to me, why are states building roads, why are they building bridges? I said, we're better off with those real infrastructure than to just share the money. A lot of people
very quickly before I let you go, Dr.
We're not going to just share the money.
Very quickly, you understand the politics of the country, and people are saying that this economic growth more seems to be tending towards the south than the north, and so a lot of poor people have risen more in the north under the Tinubu administration, and that's why you see the major opposition against Tinubu's government coming from the north.
Where we have,
are you doing anything about that?
Ab initio, we have a larger population in the north, by the MPC numbers that we're used to. So if there's a shock, there's likely to be that tendency, but it's only for a short period of time. And of course, I look at the Ministry of Works released the list of projects that he's doing now, I saw that there's more in the north than even in the south. It's just
the quality of the projects in the south are much more huge than
the state allocations in the north. And the north has, out of 747 local governments in this country, the north has at least 450 or thereabout out of them. We're leaving the rest in the south. The allocations to the local government and the states have tripled. So therefore, let's go back to, look at a state like Niger doing a lot in agriculture. You know, there's so many of them like that, repositioning and so on. And let me tell you, let's not believe the hype. Very quickly, let's not believe the hype. The north is rich. The north is where the agricultural products come from. You go to a place like Dawa No Market in Kano, where they're turning over a minimum of 5 billion every day, because the northerners don't make noise about what they have. You know, they don't make noise. They're not showing that, you know, you hardly see them spraying money in parties and so on. Who says? So I'm not saying that people did not fall under the cracks. Part of it is that the agricultural sector is where the north is strong, where, you know, sometimes they get underpriced, which the government has also taken note of. But I believe that President Tinubu intends to be very fair, and the northern people are going to they're going to even see a lot more of the goodness of these reforms. As a matter of time, we are encouraging agriculture, encouraging exports, and a lot of products moved from the north go to Niger up to Sudan. Sometimes the money doesn't come back. The north is solid, if you ask me.
I'm afraid I just have to let you go very quickly.
I'm not one of those who believe, who stay in Lagos and you know, Abuja and then just think that the north is so backward. I know the business and I know what's going on in that area of the country.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tokwe Fasua is an economic advisor with the Nigerian government, specifically with President Tinubu's government, and then, of course, his domicile in the office of the Vice President. We must thank you so much for your immense wealth of knowledge. Then, of course, we just hope this continues to go down, because that's where everybody's hoping that, you know, it will reduce the challenges of people. And we must thank you so much for joining us.